Hello guys, good evening and welcome again to this video of today. So today we want to continue from where we ended in our last class. So in the last class we're talking about the manual gear selector. So in this other video we shall be talking about the automatic gear selector. So looking at the automatic gear selector, you can see the letters, how the gears are labeled. So the first thing we need to do when you enter in an automatic car, the first thing you need to do first, you need to sit where in the car, you put your seat belt, as it is also in automatic in a manual car. So the second thing you need to do, you just have to take your left legs and make sure you mash your brakes. You have to mash your brakes. When you mash the brakes of your car, then you will be able to operate the selector, because if you don't mash the brakes, you will not be able to move the gear selector. So the first thing you need to do, you have to mash the brakes, then you will be able to move the gear selector. Looking at the gear selector, we have letter P, R, N, Z, 2, L, and 3, and so on, in so many cars as there are differences. So we'll start with the first letter here, which is letter P. Looking at the gear selector, if you take your gear selector and put it at letter P stands for park. When you are parking your car, you make sure you put it at P. Then when you want to start back the car, you make sure the selector should be at P, because if the selector is not at P, the car will not be able to start. And if you are parking, if the selector is not at P, you will not be able to remove the key from the key switch. So you should always make sure that when parking, you have to park at the position of P. The selector has to be at the position of P. And when you are starting, the position of the selector has to be at P. So the next thing we want to look at, we see what we call reverse, which is arrow. Arrow stands for reverse. If you want to take the car backward, if you want to move the car backward, then you have to go with letter arrow. You have to take the selector and put it at arrow, then you'll be able to move with the car backward. Then we go down to the next letter, which is letter N. N stands for neutral. You know, in a manual car, if you want to neutralize the car, either if you clutch, you have neutralized. But in an automatic car, there is no clutch. You just have to hold your brakes. Then you take the selector and go to N. N is neutral, means that you have neutralized the car. It means that the car is free. In an automatic, in a manual, you clutch to neutralize the car, or you can clutch. You take the gear selector into the middle, then you have neutralized the car. So the next letter we are seeing here is letter D. D stands for drive. Letter D stands for drive. If you want to drive forward, you have to take the gear selector and put it at D, then you will be able to drive forward. And when you are driving forward, the gears are changing automatically. That means you do not have to be moving the gear selector. You just have to allow it at D, and you are driving, and the gear will be changing. That is, the gear will be increasing as you are accelerating. As you are increasing the number, that is the level of acceleration, then the gear will also increase. When you reduce the level of acceleration, the gear now will reduce. So that is how automatic cars work. So we're going to the next letter that you will see on the gear selector. You will see letter 2. 2 stand for when you are driving in sport hole, means that you are moving on a bad road and there are sport hole on the road, then you will be able to drive with 2. 2 will help you to drive when you are moving on a bad road, or when the road is sleepy, then you drive with 2. Or when you are ascending a steep hill, you have to just go down to 2 and you drive there. Then we have another letter, which is letter L. When you see letter L is when you are descending. When you are going down the hill, then you just have to go to L and put your vehicle at the gear selector. You take the selector and go down at L, then you are descending. Then while in a manual car, when you are descending, you have to put your vehicle in gear 2. You have to take gear 2 while you are descending a hill. Then when you are ascending in a manual car, you have to put it at 1 to climb or to ascend the hill. Depending the stiffness of the hill, you have to use the first gear, which is 1. But in an automatic car, you use 2 to climb and L to descend. Then we have what we call 3. 3 in an automatic car is what we call the power drive. For learners, people who are still starting how to drive, or who are still learner, we always recommend you to use 3 in order to drive, because 3 you will be driving only on 1 gear. The gear will not be changing as you are driving in D, because when you are driving in D, as you increase the level of accelerator, the gear will change automatically. When you reduce the level of acceleration, then the gear will also reduce. But with D, you are driving just with a constant speed and only on 1 gear. So when you are